And in that bog there was a hole, a rare hole, a rattling hole, with a hole in the bog and the bog down in the valley, oh. Oh, the rattling bog, the bog down in the valley, oh. Rare bog, the rattling bog, the bog down in the valley, oh. Now in that hole there was a tree, rare tree, a rattling tree, with a tree in the hole, in the hole, in the bog, and the bog down in the valley, oh. Oh, the rattling bog, the bog down in the valley, oh. Rare bog, the rattling bog, the bog down in the valley, oh. Now on that tree there was a branch, a rare branch, a rattling branch, with a branch on the tree, and the tree in the hole in the bog, and the bog down in the valley, oh. Oh, the rattling bog, the bog down in the valley, oh. Rare bog, the rattling bog, the bog down in the valley, oh. Now on that branch there was a limb, rare limb, a rattling limb, the limb and the branch and the branch and the tree and the tree in the hole in the bog, and the bog down in the valley, oh. Oh, the rattling bog, the bog down in the valley, oh. Rare bog, the rattling bog, the bog down in the valley, oh. Now on that limb there was a nest, rare nest, a rattling nest, a nest in the limb and the limb and the branch and the branch and the tree and the tree in the hole in the bog, and the bog down in the valley, oh. Oh, the rattling bog, the bog down in the valley, oh. Rare bog, the rattling bog, the bog down in the valley, oh. Now on that nest there was a bird, rare bird, a rattling bird, the bird in the nest and the nest and the limb and the limb and the branch and the branch and the tree and the tree in the hole in the bog and the bog and the bog down in the valley, oh. Oh, the rattling bog, the bog down in the valley, oh. Rare bog, the rattling bog, the bog down in the valley, oh. Now in that bird there was an egg, rare egg, a rattling egg, an egg in the bird and the bird in the nest and the nest and the limb and the limb and the branch and the branch and the tree and the tree in the hole in the bog and the bog down in the valley, oh. Oh, the rattling bog, the bog down in the valley, oh. Rare bog, the rattling bog, the bog down in the valley, oh.
Rattling Bog all damn weekend, right, guys? I haven't seen y'all since the last weekend of baseball games, but damn, what an eventful weekend. How satisfying was it on Saturday to advance, well, to win the game, and to beat Texas at the same time? It was so great. It was such a great weekend for Aggie baseball. I want to talk about it. I'm not a baseball expert. I'm not a baseball guy, really. I'm a fan of the Aggies, and I at least want to go over a little bit of what to expect this weekend. But guys, I haven't talked to you guys in a couple of weeks, and last time we talked a little Aggie offense. We talked about the settlement where players are going to start getting revenue sharing. This week, I wanted to talk Aggie baseball and the Aggie defense after not seeing you guys for a couple of weeks. So what's up, everybody? Good to see you. Thanks for being here on a Thursday night in the off season once again. Rolly, thank you so much for the stream support, the $5. Always appreciate you so much, man. Yes, sir. We had to go with the Rattling Bog this time. I missed the mark. The Arkansas series, I think, is when it was, and I didn't play it where I should have. I'm so glad we got it going this time. We played Tequila. We played Noble Men of Kyle Field, and we got the Rattling Bog going. It's time, man. It's time. Postseason baseball is heating up. But let's say what's up to everybody before we get into the subjects at hand. And by the way, this is a call-in show. I see Max already in the waiting room. The call-in link is pinned in the chat. If anybody wants to chat, click it. We can talk about whatever you want. Aggie baseball, Aggie football. We're going to talk about the Aggie defense today. You can talk about the defense. You can talk about the offense. I don't even care. Talk about whatever you want. Talk about college football overall. I was looking at some schedule stuff today. I'm trying to plan out my first few weeks of the year. Week 1, amazing. A&M Notre Dame. There's a noon game. Georgia, Clemson, pretty good. At the same time, we have Penn State, West Virginia, pretty good. That's a nice, juicy morning slate. I'm so excited, guys. I can't wait. We're under 80 days from week 0. And Jeb says T-minus 3 months away from season. Yes, sir. 79 days as of today. Week 0, we have Florida State versus Georgia Tech. The start of Haynes King's Heisman campaign. I'm excited for it. I'm going for Haynes. I still love him. You almost went out tonight, Jeb? Well, you made the right choice because you get to hang out with us here. You get to hang out with the Aggies. We get to have a good time. We get to have a stream. Matt Myers, Tyler Eubanks, good to see you. Tyler, how you doing, man? Rolly, what's up? Rangers, King, some regulars in here. Drew, Tyler, you're not in there anymore. You were in there a second ago and you dipped out. I'll give you first call if you get back in, though, because I saw you in there first. And once again, Rolly, thank you very much for the $5. That's very, very nice of you to do that. Awesome. And that money is going towards the new microphone fund because we need one really badly. Also, headphones. I don't know if you noticed this ear foam is about to fall out. It's all right. We've been gaming too hard on the NCAA 14 stream, so thank you guys for joining me there. Those are a lot of fun. We do those Sunday/Monday nights and pop-ups every now and then. And I'm thinking about doing this. Y'all tell me what you think. I have updated rosters on NCAA 14, and I'm thinking about playing a couple of A&M games, some of the big games on the year, like A&M Notre Dame. Thinking about streaming that. A&M LSU. Thinking about streaming that. I already did A&M Texas, but like an abbreviated version. I'm thinking about streaming that too, just to see what happens, just to have some fun with it. But anyways, let's talk about the Super Regionals. So like I said last weekend, amazing weekend of baseball. Got it done versus Grambling. You know, there was a really, really good inning in that game. But aside from that, very quiet at bat. And if you've been paying attention at all, you probably know that A&M had a very, very cold offensive month of May. I mean, Braden Montgomery's batting 170. That should tell you all you need to know. The bats have been cold. And Grambling, you know, he had the good inning, but aside from that, it was very slow game. Not much action, good defense, good pitching. But they had a lot of hits on us. They just weren't scoring. Good field work, good defense. The Texas game, emotional game. Late at night, prime time, Saturday night. I was watching with my Longhorn family, which was eventful. It was fun. Close game to the end. Won it at the last moment. Won it maybe on some Texas mistakes, but, you know, you kept yourself in the game long enough to win it. Rivalry game. Obviously super emotional. And to connect this to football, if that baseball game was emotional and just gritty and just chippy, I mean, their freaking catcher flipped the bat on a walk. How much more chippy can it get than that? But you could just tell every little success in that game was such a big deal. It was such a big deal. It was just such an emotional release to get on base, to get an out, to get a strikeout. Every little moment was huge in that rivalry/playoff game. It was just a huge night. And A&M came out on top, and he felt really good, but still not very clean. Sunday, it felt like a get-right game to me. You know, you got Montgomery going, you got Grahovich going. Guys were hitting the ball. The ball was actually getting some distance. Guys played a lot better on Sunday. So this coming weekend versus Oregon, and, you know, I'm not on the team. I can say these things. I don't believe in jinxes or anything. Do you guys believe in jinxes? I don't think me saying anything affects the outcome. A&M should beat Oregon. And I don't think A&M necessarily needs to play 100% clean to beat Oregon. I don't think they need to match their early season success to beat Oregon. Oregon, good defensive team, good pitching team. I don't think I would call them great in either department, but good. Very mediocre, very average offensive team, and they've been in a slump lately. I think they won their last game 3-0. I don't think they've scored more than 4 or 5 runs in any of their regional games. So as long as A&M goes out there and takes care of business, they're probably going to be fine versus Oregon, winning 2 or 3 games. It's a 3-game series. But what I really, really want to see, I want to see them carry over what they started on Sunday. I want to see the ball flying. I want to see guys hyped, excited, loose, feeling good. Because after Oregon, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be brutal. And you got to take care of Oregon. I'm not trying to look past Oregon, but I think A&M can get Oregon. I think they can. But I want to see carryover, man. I want to see them build on what they started Sunday. You know, besides the Arkansas series, May was brutal for A&M. It really was. So I know you don't have to be on fire batting on this weekend, but I still want to see it. I feel like we need to see it because you lose Bluebell Park after this weekend. All you have is yourselves and your play. So that's what I want to see this weekend. I want to see A&M continue to carry over. Do you guys think A&M wins in 2 or 3 games? Do you think? I'm sure most of y'all will pick A&M. First of all, we're biased. Second of all, we're the favorites. Third of all, it's at home. Oh, and by the way, 1 block away from where this game is happening, we have Mexico versus Brazil happening in Kyle Field. So we'll have 3 green teams there besides A&M. A&M is the maroon team. Brazil has green. I don't know why this is relevant, but I'm bringing it up. Oregon's green and Mexico's green. It's going to be chaos in Aggie land this weekend. I'm so excited for it. If you guys are going, please enjoy. Please have a good time and drive safely. Should be great. Should be really hot. I think the game starts at 1 o'clock on Saturday. Anyways, let's say what's up to everybody who's joined in on the chat. Jeb says, I feel San Antonio is almost Longhorn country since Austin's pretty close. Good amount of Aggies here, but I think it's definitely Longhorn country. If you want Aggie country, go to Houston. We have a good amount of Aggies here. But definitely going to run into a good amount of Longhorns. Brazil soccer usually wears blue or yellow, Drew. Okay, fine, then they don't have any green. They do have some green, don't they? But they're not going to wear green. There's 3 green teams. I'm going to go with it. Seas of green. Someone said that on my Twitter, and I liked it. So good to see you, a non-YouTube watcher. Good to see you, man. No NCAA football tonight. But like I said, thinking about streaming a couple extra games a week. Just a one-off stream, one game, maybe a 45-minute stream. I want to preview some of A&M's biggest games of the year. I want to play the home game versus Notre Dame on stream. I want to play the LSU game on stream. I want to play the Texas game on stream, but with 7-minute quarters instead of 2-minute quarters, like I did in our first SMU stream, because we're doing the Last Dynasty with SMU. If you guys haven't joined in. It's a lot of fun. Rolly, simple recipe. Hit like you hit on Sunday and pitch like you pitched all weekend. Aggies are in Omaha. 100%. I couldn't have said it better than that. I said a lot of words to say what you just said right there. And, I don't even think you have to hit like Sunday to win. You have to hit pretty good to win. But if you hit like you hit Sunday and you can carry that over to Omaha, you're talking big picture with this team. This team has the highest possible goals a baseball team can have in a season. So get hot, stay hot, carry it over. Aggies sweep, no game 3. Love to see it. Blue and yellow make green, right? Yes. Good call, Rolly. All right. Once again, the call-in link is pinned in the chat. We have 2 people waiting. If anybody wants to get in, now is a good time. If not, we'll keep it a shorter show with just 2 callers. But first, I want to talk about the Aggie defense. Like I said, we talked about the Aggie offense last week in a positive light, upside conversation. I want to do the same thing with the Aggie defense. I think I'll mention some of the holes, but I think some of the holes can be masked, especially talking in a positive light. So we'll get into it. So the Aggie defense. Obviously, Mike Elko has a pretty good track record of bringing some pretty good defenses to Aggie land. I think his last 2 were both top 10 defenses. I can't remember if it was 21 or 22, but one of the 2 years we finished 3rd in scoring defense. Just great defenses, great pass rush, solid secondaries, good all around. And maybe he has more talent than he had then now when you just kind of look at the individual pieces out there. I know there's a lot of prove-it players out there. There's a lot of new players, especially in the secondary. But you feel good about a lot of areas. Not a lot of glaring holes on this defense going into next year. And with a coach like Elko, I know you have Bateman, and Bateman has some level of question coming from a Florida team that wasn't very good. But this is going to be Coach Elko's defense. Elko's going to structure this thing. Elko's going to make the final decisions. Bateman's there. It'll be a collective effort. So I want to talk about the secondary first, and perhaps that's the area on the team with the most year-over-year upside, at least like that we can clearly see going into the year. I mean, there's obviously a lot of room for improvement with the A&M offensive line, but you're rolling with the same personnel largely, and you're really just banking on improvement. With the A&M secondary, you have improved pieces out there. So let's start with the safeties. They were a strength in spring, and that was before you had DeRicky Wright or Trey Jones. So you have more pieces coming on the way, and it was already one of the strengths of the team the first time this coaching staff had a look at it. So one of my breakout players of the year is Bryce Anderson. I went back and watched a few games from last year, and I went and watched every snap of the bowl game. Bryce is really, really good in the run game, filling gaps, being aggressive. However, he still needs to perfect his timing on some of the deep balls, maybe getting a little bit too far downfield, not timing the routes perfectly. And I think now that he's moving back to his strong suit at safety, he has a really good chance to do that. Last year, he moved from nickel to safety. He moved around a lot last year. Bowl game, I think he played true safety the whole game. That's one thing we need to see improve, but overall, I think he has that in him, and I think we'll be looking at Bryce Anderson as a potential all-SEC type player next year. And whoever's next to him, whether it's DeRicky, Trey Jones, probably going to be Dalton Brooks, who played really well in the bowl game. Whoever it is, you have a solid 2 deep at safety next year, and maybe 3 deep, because you still have Jared Kerr there. And Jared Kerr perhaps projects as the best, true backup on the team. I don't think he fights for a starting spot, but he's not a guy that you feel terrible about if you have to put him in for a drive. You feel pretty good about Kerr, especially given his experience now at this point. 2 years of extensive experience. Now, the corner room, I think, stands to make the biggest leap this year. So last year, looking at the spring game last year, I kind of did a review of what I thought about the team last year. I rewatched last year's spring game and then kind of related that to what we saw in the year. you could freaking see every hole on this in this corner room in the spring game, because if it wasn't Chappelle out there, it was like guys that weren't true corners like McCall or just walk-ons in the spring game. And then it came time for the real year, the actual season. You had two guys. You had Tyreek Chappelle and Deuce Harmon, and those were really your true SEC corners that you felt good about. And if they missed games, and they did, you were either playing guys out of position like McCall, I think he was a safety, or a nickel wherever he was before, Boston College maybe, I'm blanking, regardless, he's not on the team anymore, or DeBerry, who just wasn't a corner. And then behind that, you had two true freshmen in Bravion Rogers and Javen Thomas, and we saw them get worked versus LSU. We saw them get... I rewatched the bowl game, and it still blows my mind. I mean, yes, they were getting worked, but their receivers were also absolutely mossing us every single time. It was crazy, the jump balls they could just throw against these guys and just come down with it. The guys were mistiming these jump balls, the receivers were, and they were still coming down with it. So it was insane. You had young true freshmen out there. But this year, with all the experience you gathered in the transfer portal, with Chappelle, Rogers, and Thomas, all gaining experience last year, whether it was in a failed effort, they were on the field. And then with these guys you have now, it's so many guys: Saunders, Ricks, Mays, Lee, Jaden Hill, then everybody else I've already mentioned. You just have so many options in this corner. And we've talked about it time and time again. And when you think about all these guys, they all have extensive college experience. I mean, maybe not the guys we have coming back. I mean, Bravion Rogers and Javen Thomas don't have that much, but they've played. They're not coming into this year green. But Saunders, Mays, Lee, Jaden Hill, they'll have multiple years of college experience. So this room will be more experienced. It'll be bigger. Deuce Harmon's a small corner. All these guys are big. I see Rolly hyping up Will the Blanket Lee. Absolutely, man. Des Ricks, he's the one guy who we have coming in that doesn't bring in experience, but he comes from the Bama, the Nick Saban School of Hard Knocks. He was a highly touted recruit coming out of high school. You kind of get him on the ground floor, which is awesome. You can mold him to your system, mold him to your assignments and your scheme. That's great. And then you also have so much experience there. So there's no choice but for this room to improve and better coaching. We think, I always blank on last year's defensive coordinator's name. That just shows you what I think of the defense over the last couple of years. He's at Auburn now. You know who I'm talking about. That smile. That damn smile. He was always smiling. But this secondary, I think, is going to be one of the strengths of the team. I think it's going to be really damn good. I mean, at best, it's middle of the pack. I mean, at worst, I think it's middle of the pack SEC. I don't see it as a whole. I don't see it as an area that opposing teams can exploit. I'll talk about where I do think teams can exploit, but then right after that, I'll talk about where we can maybe cover that up. I've talked about it. You've heard me talk about this, especially after the spring game. If there's one, it's not even a hole. If there's one concern, I guess, or question mark about this Aggie defense, I think it's the interior D-line. So bear with me. This might be a Hoff. Yeah, I'm thinking of DJ Durkin. Thank you, Adam. I appreciate that. I always blank on his name for whatever reason. But the one question mark, in my opinion, and if this is a hot take, let me know. If I'm off base here, let me know. I'm just trying to give you how I think about it. I think it's the D tackle. I think, yes, losing Walter Nolan sucks, but I'm perhaps more nervous about the fact that you lose all of your true nose guards. You lose McKinley Jackson, who was huge. He was just, I'll talk more about it in a second. You lose Isaiah Rakes, who was huge in kind of that backup role. And now you're probably starting like an Albert Regis, who is good and serviceable and played pretty well in the bowl game, played pretty well in spring, looks like a good player. He's not down to down, though. He's not going to play a whole game. I think he's used to getting a lot of spell, but he can play a bit. And then you have young guys. You have Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy, and he's young and experienced because of injury. You have DJ Hicks, and then you have the transfer Rodas Johnson out of Wisconsin inside. You have a couple other guys in there, too, but those are kind of the main guys. Now, this is a very hot take, I think, because I think a lot of people are high on this guy, and I still think there's a lot of prove it in this guy, first of all, because of his age, but second of all, because of what I noticed in reviewing his film last night. DJ Hicks. DJ Hicks has every tool in the world. He's extremely athletic, especially when he gets in the open field. He can chase down runners. He can maybe get a little pass rush going, too. But as far as eating double teams, occupying blockers, pushing guys back, not just getting blocked. Because I think a big thing about being a good defensive tackle is maybe you're not making an impact on every play, but you're stonewalling people. You're not getting pushed back. You're not letting yourself get blocked. And I saw DJ Hicks get blocked quite a few times in the spring game and in the bowl game. But I'm not afraid to talk about this with him because a lot of times I don't want to dog on players because we know what he has in him as a young player with coaching lineage in his family. I think we're going to need a lot out of him this year. That's why I have him in one of my priority guys to develop a lot and get stronger throughout this offseason, work with Tommy Moffitt, because we're relying on him next year. Now, after rewatching the bowl game where we saw a lot of Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy, I see some McKinley Jackson in him, and he's a lot smaller than McKinley. I think McKinley's like a 325 guy, 330 pounder. GBD is like a 300 pounder. But he's the kind of guy when he gets blocked by a guard or a center, he's not getting pushed around. And in most cases, he's blowing guys back. Maybe not making the play on the ball, but damaging the pocket, penetrating rushing lanes. I actually came out from this viewing session, even though he only played in one game, really in a significant fashion, the bowl game. I think I came out of this highest on Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy going into next year. It's just about health with him, obviously. And then we saw in the spring game, Rodas Johnson looked very, very solid. He's a guy we're going to rely on a lot. So if you look at your starting D-line, we'll talk about the ends in a second. Shamar Stewart, Shamar Turner, Scorton. You could have 3 NFL draft picks, top 2-round guys on your starting D-line. So I think that alone can mask any deficiency you have with that last tackle spot. I could see Albert Regis occupying that starting spot. And then I can see you spelling with DJ Hicks. I can see you spelling with Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy. Hopefully he's healthy. And Rodas Johnson. And then you can get deeper into that. Rolly says, I think DJ Hicks is going to blow people's minds this year. I like what he brings to the table, and he's only getting better. I feel really good about him on third downs as an interior pass rusher. And let's transition into it. This defensive end room is going to be nasty. And not to mention, Shamar Turner is very likely starting at defensive tackle this year. That's a guy that can get after it. That's a guy that will not get blocked. That's a guy that's vicious on that D-line. I think with the profiles you have at defensive end, especially the starting 2, with Shamar Stewart and Nick Scorton, there's a lot of run support with those kind of guys. I mean, they both bring, especially Scorton, edge rushing capabilities, but they have strong side builds and strong side strength. I mean, Nick Scorton's a freak. His body type mixed with his speed and strength is rarely heard of. This is likely, it's very possible he's a first rounder next year, if not likely. Shamar Stewart on the other side of the ball, on the other side of the line, he has that same upside. He has that massive frame with speed, and he's the kind of guy that you probably can't leave unblocked on the weak side of runs because he can just chase running backs down, and we saw that in the spring game. We saw that in the bowl game. And if he's a step faster after this offseason cycle and maturing and getting more confident in himself, he could develop into that kind of guy. And him and Bryce Anderson are probably my 2 biggest breakout candidates on the defense, with DJ Hicks having that upside. And I like I said, I came out higher than Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy. So I really think that if there is a hole in that defensive tackle size and run stop ability, I think you make up for it with these absolutely massive edge rushers, these absolute game changers at edge rusher that really aren't edge rush bodies, like I just said. But then we all know about this defensive end room. I'll go through it one more time. What Mike Elko can do on third downs with the personnel is so exciting. I mean, you talk about a third down situation. You could bring in Cassius Howell. You can bring in Malik Silla to play outside. You can move Nick Scorton and have Shamar Turner. Those 2 guys can play inside on your third and medium to long situations. And they can just get off. They can just get after the quarterback by themselves. Now, hand in hand with that, whatever learning curve you have to find with your secondary with all the new players, this defensive line can rush a quarterback by themselves, I think. So I think you're going to have a lot of drop 8 situations, and I still don't think the quarterback will be very comfortable. I have a feeling that this team can confidently drop 8. I mean, they're going to blitz a lot. Mike Elko will get fancy with it, but I think they can sit back with this defensive line personnel, especially with what they can do on third downs, and that is very exciting. Very, very exciting. Obviously at linebacker, there's some shoes to fill there. We know about that. But what his best strength was, Edge Cooper's strength was playing at the line of scrimmage, being that outside linebacker, rushing the quarterback, disrupting the rushing lanes, disrupting the passing game. Very athletic linebacker. I don't think you necessarily need that with the personnel on defensive line. Like, you don't, it'd be nice to have it, but even if you don't get, you probably won't, you don't get Edgerrin Cooper level play. You make up for that with Nick Scorton, Shamar Turner, Shamar Stewart, and the rotation of defensive ends and the packages Elko can build with these guys coming off the bench. So whether it's a Samford, whether it's a DeShields, whether it's a Scooby Williams, whoever it is, I think they're going to have time by way of this defensive line. So whatever holes you see in it, I think the defensive ends, the versatility, can make up for it. And maybe it takes DJ Hicks a few games to get into that level of play. Maybe you need that. Maybe you can buy time because you have such good players around him. And I think the upside with DJ Hicks is still there. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm not trying to say that at all. I'm just saying he has, for what we need from him, he has some steps to take. So we'll see if he takes them or not. I have faith that he will, but you have options there, and you have a great defensive end room. So defensively, can this defense be a top 10 defense like Elko had before? Is that on the table this year? I don't see why it's not. I think A&M might have one of the best pass defenses in the country again, like we did 2 years ago, even though we went 5-7. And I don't think teams are going to be able to run that easily on A&M. Although they may have more success in the running game, I think A&M will dominate in the passing game, have such good defensive ends that they can mask any of those issues. So top 10 defense next year, what do you guys think? What do you guys think? I think it's possible. I think it's possible. I don't know if it's likely. I don't know if I bet on it, but it's absolutely on the table. This is a top 10 defense. We don't go into the year thinking, oh, we'll be lucky to be a upper half of the SEC defense. I think that is likely. I really do. So, guys, let's see what you guys are saying, and then we'll get into the callers. I see Max in there. Tyler, you dipped out. Did I make you wait too long? I'm sorry. But, guys, anybody wants to call in, the call-in link is pinned in the chat. Click that. You'll be prompted to enter a waiting room. Just activate your mic. Don't activate your camera. We don't use that function. Jeb says, DT still makes me a little nervous. Any injuries and we are thin. Yeah, that's true. I would not like to see Shamar Turner get hurt. That's for sure. I would not like to see Albert Regis get hurt. And maybe we're overlooking Albert Regis. I haven't mentioned him with any breakout potential as a breakout candidate or anything like that. Maybe Albert Regis has a lot to prove, and more so since no one's talking about him. I think we might learn his name this year. It's very possible. He has a really good motor on defense as a defensive tackle. DeRicky Wright, starter at nickel? Maybe, man. I would not mind that guy getting physical in the running game. What's he, like 6'4", 210? Yeah, I think that's very possible. Or Chappelle at the nickel, or, take your pick. I think third down dime package could be really exciting with all the DBs you have out there, with the pass rush you can get with 4. Third and long might be one of the most fun things to watch on this team. DeRicky Wright, starter at nickel. Yeah, Bryce is better fit at safety, absolutely. Rolly says Chappelle. Yeah, Chappelle could play corner. He can play nickel. He played nickel in spring. I think Chappelle is solid tackler. He's never been a weakness for this team outside of his first few starts back in 21, I think, against Arkansas. Yeah, I think Chappelle can play at a lot of places, whether it's corner or nickel. I think you have a very versatile player there now that he played nickel in spring. Harmon, I thought would have been great at playing nickel, maybe. We'll never know now. Jeb says, hot take, I wish we had to bury one more year and play him at nickel. Yeah, he would have been great at nickel. He was great at nickel whenever we got to see it. Will Lee, Des Ricks. Yep. I hope Ricks plays and doesn't end up like Grimes, hurt all year. Yeah, I don't want to see that happen again. That was a shame that Grimes was a failure to launch. Rolly says, I forgot where I saw it, but some people have them ranked in the top 10 in the country going into the year. I mean, I don't see why not. I think if you're not high on this defense, it's because you're looking at the pieces that A&M lost, whether it's, like an Overton or a McKinley Jackson. You look at losing Cooper, best defensive player in a while. But you don't take into account what they've added in the players that are growing up within the system. You don't account for Elko being the defensive guy that he is. It has that upside. I'm not ready to say I feel like this is absolutely a top 10 defense going into the year. We have to see the secondary and what their upside is. I think there's a much, much higher floor for the secondary than what we saw before. Top 10 overall defense is on the table. Jeb says, I really need like one more nose guard to complete this defense. Yeah, and we're not going to get it, man. I think we're maxed out. Elko said 85 unless they transition somebody into a NIL-supported walk-on, which is a thing now. Yeah, apparently some of these high-profile players are walk-ons that just get their scholarships paid for by NIL collectives. That's crazy. That blew my mind when I found that out a couple weeks ago. Apparently that's been a thing going on. Jeb says Rakes would potentially start if he was still here. Absolutely. If Dindy can emerge, interior could be nasty. I know, man. And Dindy has that thing that McKinley had where he just occupies blockers and blows them back and doesn't let himself get blocked. He doesn't let the offensive linemen have their way. He doesn't let them dictate the game. And that's what you really want to see in those guys, in those run stoppers. You want to see them eat blockers and just kind of not allow for those running lanes to develop and let your fast guys get to the ball carrier, whether it's a linebacker or one of your defensive ends that can, be all over the field. At least with this team's personnel, they can. Rolly says, I think DJ Hicks is going to go blow people's minds. I like what he brings to the table, and it's only getting better. Yeah, man. I need to see a leap, but it's definitely on the table. TX427, good to see you, man. Is Samu still on the team? Will we ever see him on goal line defense this year? I don't know. I thought we would see him last year. He is on the team. He played in the spring game. I would love to see him on goal line. I mean, it's not too often you get to throw a 360-pounder out there and just clog the middle. I mean, he gets there, he just gets super low, and he just crawls forward. I mean, that's viable in those situations. Yeah, I want to see it too. Rolly says, Scorton leads the SEC in sacks this year. You heard it here first. That is very possible, man. It is very possible. Just raw talent, raw athleticism by himself. Absolutely. And don't underestimate what he can do in the running game too. Cassius Howell is going to be a big part of the defense this year. Absolutely he will. Jeb says, really hope we add one more defensive tackle randomly this summer. I hope so. Have you watched any film on DeShields? I've watched some, but more so just what people have written about him. Experienced veteran with a ton of starts under his belt. Jeb says, I think we can be top 10. On paper, A&M secondary is already ranked top 10 in the country starting out. Yep. Gary says, checking in but obliged to graduation duties. Have high expectations for Elko's D Giga Maggies. Gary, thanks for checking in, man, and congratulations to the graduate. That is awesome. Jeb says, could be the best safety group we've had in a while. I know, and as much as we love Damani, I think there were still some deficiencies there, and we could maybe even take a step forward with his successor. I think that's possible. Armani, Watson, Evans were the best safety duos I've seen at A&M. That was so good. I remember Armani had like 2 game-ending picks to start the year that year. What are your thoughts on the expanded playoff schedule? I'd have to pull it up, but I love it. I mean, I'm not here to complain about more high-profile football. I know some people don't like it. I know some people are uneasy about the season extending into late January, like almost into the spring semester. I'm for it. You're talking about 4 teams extending their season that long. And, especially if A&M's playing in these games, I'm very happy to have, playoff games on a Thursday night than a Friday night in the late fall. Intense, high-profile football. I'm all for more football. And that first round being at home, it's going to be an absolute movie to watch. I'm excited about it, man. I'm excited about it. Man, we've really had some good DNs since joining the SEC. Yes, we have, man. We really have. It's a great recruiting point to get more defensive ends to kind of follow in on the pedigree, the lineage there. All right, guys, we have open phone lines besides Max, who will jump in here in just a second. Anybody who wants to call in, talk about whatever you want, now's the time. All right, let's get Max in here. Max, you're on with Drew. What's on your mind tonight, my friend? How you doing?
I'm doing great. I just gotta ask you a question, Drew.
Hope I have an answer.
What the heck is a kilometer?
What?
You know that meme, the what the heck is a kilometer meme?
No? What are you
don't know
talking
that?
about?
Okay.
I don't know the meme. And I'm barely
so-
familiar with a kilometer, so it's working on me.
So the meme is like, oh, you're so American that the joke is you just shout what the heck is. They don't actually say heck, but I'm not going to demonetize your stream. And the reason I say this is because America decided they wanted to beat Pakistan in cricket today. In cricket, which is wild because it's basically Muslim India. So I mean that's
So we're
crazy.
talking cricket tonight?
For 45 more seconds.
Give me the cricket talk. This is a first. This is a channel first. I love it.
Yes. So America is hosting the opening round of the cricket T20, which is like a version where you play 20 at-bats basically, but it's not called an at-bat for each team. And whoever scores the most after 20 wins, except it was tied, so it went to overtime, which they call a super over, which I think is great.
That is great.
And it was in Grand Prairie, and they beat Pakistan.
Oh, we beat Pakistan?
Yes, America beat Pakistan.
So Pakistan's like, they play cricket.
Yes, they were the finalists. They finished second place. They were a finalist in 2022.
Wow.
in the same competition.
And we didn't even know what a kilometer was, and we did it.
No, and on top of that, our captain, I DM'd you a bunch of stuff. You probably saw it. The captain of the U.S. team is a software like tech, basically an IT guy, who immigrated from India, and he does a software IT work for Oracle during the week, and then plays cricket on the side.
No way. What are these SEC refs? I mean, wow. That's crazy.
I know, except they're good.
Yeah, yeah, that's good.
So
that's pretty crazy.
mean,
Maybe
yes.
A&M should get a cricket program going.
A&M won the club cricket U.S. championship this year, actually.
See, I didn't even know that. Not only do I not know a kilometer, I don't know that my own team has cricket. Wow.
Yeah, it was club, but yeah, they won national championship.
Okay. That's pretty crazy, man. I can't believe we just talked cricket. That was awesome.
Yeah, I gotta give you 30 more seconds. Just sadly, it's not available to anybody outside of this random cricket-only TV channel, so you can't really watch it if you're an American. But could you imagine if all of a sudden America beating somebody like this? Suddenly, cricket matters now, and like in 15 years, it's gonna be like on the same level as like I don't know, PLL lacrosse or something.
Do you think it's possible?
It's heading that direction. There's already a pro league now.
It's huge. I know it's just not huge here, but I know it's massive across the world.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's your 5 minutes of what the heck is a kilometer.
The more you know. The more
Yep.
you know. Okay, I gotta dictate this. I gotta give you the floor. You know, you had a situation this week. I want you to talk about it, lay it down for us, and tell us how you're feeling and where you go from here, and if this is this a blow for SMU, or is this something that SMU can recover from pretty quickly?
I mean, it's hard to. Obviously, it's a blow, but you know, it's not like it's a knockout punch. You just get back up, keep fighting.
Yeah.
But you know,
what's his name again? I'm sorry, I'm blanking.
Keelan.
Yeah, Keelan Russell. What's his last name?
Yeah,
Keelan Russell, longtime SMU commit from Duncanville. Is that right?
Yep, Duncanville.
Yeah, he flipped to Bama this past week. So, I mean, I know it sucks, but I don't know. Do you want to offer any insight there, or is it is what it is?
I mean, I can give you the whole spiel, which is that I gave you the same spiel whenever the first conversation happened. Whenever people were like, "Oh, he's going to go to Mississippi," it's like, "No, he's not."
Yeah.
And whenever they were like, "There's no way SMU can hang on," and we're like, "Well, I don't think there's no way." First off, but second off, even if SMU loses him, SMU isn't suddenly going to fall off as a program. There's too many good things.
So.
There's too many good things happening to SMU. And
right.
as we're still going to keep pushing up and up, and the takeover isn't going anywhere. It just might take a little longer.
Yeah, sure.
And that's fine. You know, yeah. I'd rather it take longer than, you know, something like Florida happened where like they chase Rashada so hard and then their program just like collapses like bricks, like a ton of bricks. I don't know.
That was an ordeal. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and how long is Noble Guy there? He has Stone, right?
Yeah, so if he doesn't leave for the NFL after the end of this year, he'll have 2 years left.
Okay.
However, he is very good, and the NFL would want him. So unless he does not have like a really great season,
yeah,
he could very well leave for the NFL draft and get picked day 2 or day 1.
Yeah.
But like the nice thing is that at the very least we have some really experienced guys we've been bringing up as like their young recruits sitting as backups that they still getting game time experience because Preston keeps getting injured at unlucky times.
Yeah.
So we had our backup win the conference championship last year. Had our backup get his butt beaten against Boston College in the Fenway slop.
Yeah.
But you know, those types of things build experience, build character. So if for example that backup has to come in and play quarterback for a year or two, I think he'll be much more ready than, you know, somebody with an established starter who's been playing for 5 years or something, and then all of a sudden they got to replace him. And not to mention, now we just have more money to throw at quarterbacks in the portal, you know. So
yeah, that's absolutely true. Yeah, and I know I'll be watching SMU the first couple weeks of the year at least because y'all play week 0, and then y'all play Friday of week 1, right?
Week 1 is against FCS, so don't.
Week 2.
Don't watch.
Week 2.
yeah, week 0 we're playing Nevada on CBS Sports Network on the road because of Vandy being some you know what.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so I wouldn't, unless you're really wanting to see Nevada get beat down real bad, or you really want to see SMU cut the ribbon on the new end zone complex. We can wait till the BYU game
No,
week
I'll be
2.
watching because y'all are playing week 0, and I'll be so hungry for football by then. I'll have no choice but to watch y'all. So I will be watching you then. I will be watching you play BYU at least. So, and I'm also curious, who's Slopintosh? Who did Slopintosh take over?
I think he might have changed his physique a little bit, but it's Kobe Wilson.
Yeah, I think I gave him like 3 more inches. Hey, I'll be watching Kobe Wilson. What are his prospects? How did he look?
He started for us last year. Was very consistent. Was very good.
Okay.
I don't think he was our best linebacker actually.
Oh, really?
That's the funniest thing.
Yeah.
We had a better linebacker who was a transfer from Liberty, and we actually got a freshman who came in last year who redshirted, but still played a little bit, and now he's expected to be like a key starter for us right out the gate as a redshirt freshman.
Yeah. Wow.
So be on the lookout for that. But the one thing outside of baseball that I'm paying most attention to is that there's Red River going on in softball right now, and OU might just put the the Longhorns are so funny to me right now because not only do they get their ass kicked in baseball, but they assemble like the godliest softball team of all time
Yeah.
just to go travel up to Oklahoma City and potentially get swept.
Yeah. Yeah. Wouldn't you hate to see it?
And get four-peated by OU. OU four-peating if they win the title tonight.
Damn.
Even though Texas was the 1 seed, even though that Texas was the favorite, it doesn't matter. Pedigree is permanent and form is temporary. Or the exact phrase is form is temporary, class is permanent.
Yeah, OU's a monster in softball. Absolutely. Well,
Hey,
do you have any...
A&M,
Go ahead.
A&M didn't they almost beat Texas?
Yeah, almost did. I think we had them down, and yeah, I think it's people are talking about. I don't follow it that closely, but people are talking about how it's a shame that we had to play them so early, and then they barely get by us, and then they blow everybody out, only to meet OU, and then to have this happen. So, oh well, we almost had our shot. Well, we had our shot, almost took advantage of it. Yeah.
Just got to keep building up that culture, and maybe Trev Alberts funnel some money to the softball program a little bit.
Hey, it's looking good. It's trending up. Absolutely. Hey, so while I have you, do you want to give any insight on the A&M defense? We're just talking upside going into the year. Anything you know about Elko or remember from his time here, or maybe bring from his time at Duke, leads you to think this defense could be much improved next year, and the personnel.
I mean, I think the idea that A&M's defense has regressed is ridiculous. That's my main opinion. I don't know how you can improve your overall defensive brain trust and add as much talent and production as A&M did, and then somehow be considered worse. Like at the very least, their player pool should be as good as they were last year in terms of actual ability to perform and not just theoretical talent.
Mm-hmm.
And I would argue they should be better.
Yeah, and that's
You
a
look
good
at
point.
Nick Gordon, man, like come on.
Yeah, right. And the only thing, I mean, the main thing about the defense last year is, yeah, you had the talent there, but you just had a glaring hole at one position at corner. So that would just cost you drives, games, big plays all the time. And I think they rounded that thing out with the transfer portal.
Yeah, you can only fill your positional weaknesses so much. Even SMU is struggling to get another corner right now
Yeah.
because the market's so dry, man.
Yeah, I know, man. I know. You're late in the cycle now. Yeah. What else you got tonight?
The other thing I was going to mention is, I mean, there's no way you can watch the peak of what Mike Elko did and then compare to even what like DJ Durkin or whatever has been doing over the past few years and say that seriously you can't expect a stronger performance from even the same players that you had last year. You should expect improvement all around on the defensive end, and if something less than that occurs, you should be asking Mike Elko, why haven't you gotten your whatever together? Because you're supposed to be better than this.
Right.
But there's no way that you're going to have to ask that question because the track record speaks for itself.
Yeah, it's true. Now, I don't know how much insight you can provide here. I know you follow A&M closer than most programs, but I've recently done previews for Texas, Notre Dame, LSU. Starting with LSU, I guess the most recent one I did. Do you think that defense has much room for improvement? I know they had the overhaul on the defensive staff, but they're rolling with a lot of the same guys. A lot of young guys have emerged in spring. Like they have a true freshman corner who came in at like 155, who's one of their better players in spring. I mean, what do you expect from their defense next year, given the overhaul and just given where they were last year?
I'm not an expert on most other teams, but I mean, you can never say that LSU can't bring in talent. You can
Sure.
never say that LSU is a static program, right?
Yeah.
So you have to expect that at the very least, it's going to be even the same players, even if they didn't bring a ton in, although I'm sure they brought in some. You have to be realistic. I mean, LSU is going to be very good a lot of the time.
Sure.
Like even so, if their defense struggled last year, you're going to have to expect to see improvement, and then hope that maybe you can take advantage of their mistakes and that maybe they aren't ready to go.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah. I'm not an expert,
Okay. Okay. I wanted to get your feel for it. That's fine. Anything on Notre Dame? I mean, you just lose those talents on the offensive line. You start with a new quarterback, new running back. Defense should be pretty stout. I mean, just any kind of preview for week 1 for A&M.
I watched that Marshall game and that Ohio State game last year for Notre Dame, and that offense was not pretty.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think we're about to find out how good Riley Leonard is versus how good Duke's offensive system was, and then how bad Notre Dame's offensive system is.
Yeah.
Because I have a feeling he is going to struggle.
Really?
and at least, yes, I do, because I've watched that horrible Notre Dame offense.
Yeah.
And I just can't let go of the fact that team looks dysfunctional.
Wow.
Man.
Wow.
Especially early in the season.
Yeah.
I mean, going into Kyle Field.
Yeah.
Man, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. I don't know if A&M's going to put up a bunch of points to make it a rout, but I think it's going to defensively is just going to be a physical beatdown.
Yeah.
On Notre Dame, man. I really do.
That's the path to winning, I think. Yeah.
Maybe it's low scoring. Maybe it's like, 14 to 10 or whatever. But I mean, there's going to be some physical dominance.
Yeah, and it wouldn't surprise me to see A&M have some offensive struggles, especially early in that game with Connor coming back, new system, just everything so new, and then coming off the injury. I wouldn't be surprised to see us take some time, but I think this offense has a lot of upside with the receiver core coming back. I mean, can the offensive line get any worse? We think it's going to improve. We think it's going to get better. Now, Notre Dame brings some elite defensive linemen, one of the best safeties in the country, just solid defense all around. But I think A&M has a better chance to bring it to that defense than they do on the other side of the ball. So we'll have to see. That's I don't know how I feel about those marquee matchups, those marquee non-cons coming in week 1. But as a fan right now, I'm enjoying the hell out of it. It's really giving like that week 1, I don't know, finish line. It's emphasizing it, if you will. It's really making it exciting.
And it's not in a neutral site.
Oh, thank goodness.
Because I think neutral site games for kickoffs are great when it's two really good teams, but where they don't have a massive home field environment like Kyle Field. Like if you're going to put Georgia Tech in a kickoff game versus not Florida State, because Florida State's going to trounce them, but if it wasn't Florida State and it was Georgia Tech versus, I think it would be a banger game to see Georgia Tech versus Lane Kiffin. I think that would be a banger game.
Yeah, sure. Or like a California school like Southern Cal has trouble filling their stadium. Maybe, I mean, they are playing at a neutral site week 1, but it's at the expense of LSU's home field, so that kind of sucks. But
they try to get out of that game though, and they try real hard.
Right. Failure.
You can't run away from the SEC forever, Lincoln. You could try, but it's coming for you.
Or no, Vandy's the other way around. Okay. Anyway.
Vandy's is not included in the club. They're just here to improve the APR, right? And maybe build a nice end zone complex for their donors while they get trounced 54-7. Okay.
Right. Go have your beverages and teas and whatnot. Anyway,
and wake up in baseball season.
Sure.
Hopefully.
Sure. Yeah. Have a good time during the football stadium. I mean, enjoy the stadium, enjoy your time. Then wake up during baseball. All right, Max. Any closing thoughts from you today? Anything else you want to talk about?
Man, honestly, the only thing I have to say is there are rumors about SMU getting a basketball player that I have no idea how they'd be able to get him.
Don't aren't
Unless
y'all don't
SMU's.
y'all aren't y'all looking for a starting spot right now? I've been following your updates.
Oh yeah, I have a crisis counter going on my page,
Yeah,
on
yeah,
my SMU burner page because it is drastically bad.
yeah.
We need a starting front court player, ideally a center or a tall power forward. And the problem is there are not many left.
Right, right.
And apparently, do you know who Coleman Hawkins is? He played for Illinois.
No.
He was an NBA draft prospect in like the 50s ranked or whatever,
Okay.
low 40s, and he transferred from Illinois and withdrew from the draft. And his list, he's trying to get like a massive bag of cash, and I guess infield recruited him at USC, and so he put SMU on his list along with Louisville and Kansas State. And I'm like, there is no way we are winning this recruiting battle over teams that have actually proven they can win in basketball games at a high level.
Right.
But if somehow if SMU wins that battle for a guy who should be, if not for NIL, would be in the NBA right
Wow.
now. On the bench, but in
Yeah,
the
yeah. He's that
NBA.
caliber. Yeah.
And to think that that's how serious SMU is taking basketball after a questionable coaching search process, maybe then I could finally buy in on this coach and this administration, despite me feeling highly skeptical. But whenever you get a player that good, I mean, at a certain point, you just have to buy in. But yet it feels like that's impossible, and we're just wasting our time. We're going to get beat up by Louisville. Louisville's going to take them, and then we're still going to have no big guy. Next thing you know, it's going to be July, and then we're going to have to get some guy from like a low major conference and hope he works out as our starting five. And it's going to be
Right.
a little embarrassing whenever we're playing 4 ACC level starters versus 5 on every other ACC team.
Right. Right. Well, so y'all are in the bidding war then. Y'all are ponying up. That's the deal here, and that's encouraging for you.
It's encouraging if the reports are to be believed, because
Okay.
for all we know, it's just smoke screens to get the
Okay.
other teams to pay more.
Okay.
Anyway, I'll leave you with this. America, baseball is better than cricket, and we were able to take over the cricket world in a matter of 3 days after everyone said baseball sucked from the cricket world. Screw you guys, America,
America, miles, baby, miles, inches,
and uh,
feet.
and maybe we'll beat India this weekend as well, because India and Pakistan are in America's group.
Yeah, they were just saying India's like the leader. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, let's see what happens. America, baseball, miles, inches. Have a good night, Max. Thanks for calling in.
See ya, Drew. America.
Later. All right, guys. Well, we have no callers waiting, so I guess we'll call it a short show tonight. No problem at all for this off season. I got what I had on my chest off about this Aggie defense. Top 10, maybe. Maybe. We'll see. All right, let's check what you guys are saying before I get out of here. Ronnie Barker finally got to catch a live one again. Loving the channel from Tokyo. Always good to hear from you, Ronnie. And yeah, I cannot believe the Appels are not related. That's just a coincidence? Are you kidding? It's insane. That's so insane. All right, guys. Let's see any other questions in the chat before I get out of here. I have a few more minutes. If not, we can call it a short off-season show, and I'll see you guys Sunday for the continuation of The Last Dynasty. Is it too much to ask just to have Connor stay healthy all season? Please, O-line. It's going to come down to the O-line, right? Because last year, they just didn't pick up a guy. It was a late blitz, and he got hit unchecked. So I keep getting in these debates on Twitter about whether or not, and this is like, I could just stop there. Just stop doing that, Drew. But is Connor Wigman an injury-prone player? He's been hurt once by getting his foot broken. How many times do I have to say? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Anyway, we have a caller in. Baseball is guaranteed Sunday night. It's not Friday, Saturday. Is it Saturday, Sunday? It is Saturday, Sunday. You're right. You're right. So we'll have to move it to Monday. Hopefully it's done by then. If not, we'll do it on Tuesday. We'll just push it back. So everybody who regularly views, we'll push the Last Dynasty back a day as needed. So if it's not Sunday night, it's not going to be Sunday night. So we'll do either Monday night or Tuesday night. Does that work with you guys? We'll do it that way. All right, we do have another caller. Christopher, you're on with Drew. How you doing, my friend?
What's going on, Drew? Well, Well, not long time no talk, but I
Not this time.
just scrolling through my recommended, saw that you were live, so I figured I'd pop in here for a minute and chat.
Nice, man. Yeah, we're talking Aggie baseball, and then like last time you were on the show, we talked about the Aggie offensive upside. We're just talking about the Aggie defensive upside. If you want to take it away with either of those subjects, either the super regionals or the Aggie defense.
Well, we'll start with the present, and then we'll go to the future. How about that?
Sounds great.
So obviously the super regionals are this weekend,
Yes,
and
sir.
feeling I'm feeling pretty good about our chances against Oregon. We're a good team. We just need to learn how to play small ball at times and not be worried about hitting it out of the yard. And if we can play clean, I think we'll beat them.
Yeah.
I think because I don't think they have anybody that can go head to head with Prager or Ostenbeck for that matter.
Yeah, that opening. Yeah, I love it when it's those two guys on the first night. It's great, and Sadeo's been great. So yeah, we'll see. And I think you're right. As long as they play clean, they'll take care of business. But I really want to see them continue what they started last Sunday, where the bats got hot again. They looked like they were having fun again, kind of just not thinking and kind of just flowing in the game again after kind of a rough May. I want to see them carry it over into Omaha. I mean, God willing, we get there, but I want to see that. I really want to see this team with good vibes and hot bats, honestly, like they had last weekend at the end.
Just be us. That's all we got to do.
Be us, absolutely. We talked about it last time. It's like it's A&M controls it. I think A&M controls it. I think we have everything we need. It's about us.
And I'll say this: who we play doesn't matter, and just take the guys in black out of it. You control what you can control and do what you do.
Oh, they frustrate me, Christopher. They get to me. I'm glad I'm not on the field. They get to me, man. The ever changing strike zone every now and then.
They get to me sometimes, especially if it's three, let's say 3-2 count, 2 runs on base, 2 outs. I'm like, come on, man,
Yeah, I know exactly right. Yeah, Rolly says Jace took a bunch of walks. Yes, he did, and hit the ball hard, but right at people. It's true. But Grahovich, Jace, and Braden hit like we know they can. No one's beating the Aggies. It's true. It's so true. It's so true. And then you just never know. Beyond that top 3, there's always someone that pops up. There's always someone else that gets hot. So it's been Sorrell lately. I feel like Camarillo is just a steady player. He's been there all year for us. So, yeah, if those top 3 guys get hot again, sky's the limit. We have the biggest possible goals you can have in a baseball postseason right now. So, anyway, any closing thoughts there, Christopher?
Camarillo's steady. He's actually, picked it up a little bit. And I think it's going to be, I think for us to win this, I think it's guys that you aren't expecting to step up are going to step up,
Those other guys, absolutely, and it could be anybody. And we've seen it at times throughout the season from everybody. Everybody's had their moments this year, and it's just about bringing it all together and just being us, like you said. But anyway, Christopher, if you want to transition to the Aggie defense, I went through all the position groups. I think this team has top 10 defensive upside. I mean, we don't know. I wouldn't necessarily predict that going into the year, but I think based on Elko and his track record at A&M. And the personnel, the improvements in the secondary we think are going to happen. I mean, I have to say this team has top 10 defensive upside, wouldn't you?
I definitely say that, but it's one thing to, say it on paper, but you actually have to get on the field and play like it,
Sure.
It's and it's great to hear all that and, have that statistic. But what really matters is how you play and what you do with the personnel that you have. And I think we do have some guys that are poised for a breakout year on the defense. I'm looking at guys like Bryce Anderson and Churian York, who had a heck of a freshman year. I look for him to build on that this coming year.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a leader, too. I mean, you replace Edger and Cooper, but you feel good knowing you have an absolute team leader in that linebacker room to bring up whoever steps into those shoes, whether it's one guy or multiple guys.
Well, yeah, and what I'll say about Churian York is that Now, before I get a lot of grief for this, he reminds me a lot of Fred Warner. He's very quick. He can sideline to sideline very well, and I think he's going to be a guy that is going to be flying around, and making plays for us. Now, the reason I said what I said was because, a lot of people are like, "Are you comparing him to Fred Warner?" No, I'm saying that he has a similar play style, and I'm not saying he's reached his full potential yet, but I think he has a tremendous opportunity to get there under this defense with Coach Elko and Coach Bateman.
Right. Absolutely. Now, you know, last year, deficiency in the corner department, guys playing out of position, guys being hurt, whether it's Harmon or Chappelle, that were our most serviceable guys in that position group. You bring in a lot of experienced transfers. You bring in Des Ricks, who's a transfer without experience, but with a lot of high school pedigree coming from the Nick Saban school, if you will, after a year. And then you still have Chappelle back. So you feel like the pieces are there. They have to go do it. Now, the only area on the defense where I would draw questions is who's the nose guard, who's our run clogger on that defensive line. You feel so good about the ends. This might be one of the best rush 4 teams in the country on third down situations. I think this team can drop 8 more often than not, because I think this defensive line can absolutely get after the quarterback with the best of them in the country against some of those elite O-lines that A&M will be playing this year, like Texas and LSU. But I don't know. Speak to the defensive tackle position, because you lose Rakes, you lose McKinley, you lose Nolan. You have some guys there that you have some level of confidence with, but, I mean, what's your level of confidence with that defensive tackle room going into next year?
I think we'll be fine. Guys. I don't want guys to do anything that they can't do, and I think one thing we're going to have to be careful about is letting our defensive ends get too far up the field, because yes, we can pass rush with the best of them in the country, but it has to be a controlled rush.
Sure.
You can't be like you can't get all carried away, because the next thing that can happen is you're susceptible to screens and everything else like that. So yes, you're right. We do have one of the best defensive lines in the country, but at the same time, we got to be careful about what we're doing and how we're doing it.
Sure.
And like I said, I think we'll be fine defensive tackle wise. I think, like you said, there's some guys that are there that you have some relative confidence in, but you really don't know until you get out there.
Absolutely.
Is one thing, because it's one thing to practice and do all that and look good in practice, but let's be honest, you're practicing against yourself.
Yep.
Everybody knows everybody, and everybody knows what they can and can't do. So the only way to really find out and evaluate is to get out there on the field and do it. And I think having a top 10 opponent in Notre Dame first week of the year is definitely going to be a tone setter for sure. And
Yeah.
it's something that I very much appreciate. I don't like a schedule like we've had in the past, where you have these 3 cupcake games and then you go into conference play, and then it's like and then it's like, okay, well, here we go.
Yeah.
Because my whole thing has been that you have to find an identity before conference play, because you can't be wondering what you do best as a football program and as a team going into a conference like the SEC. You can't do it. And I think having a game like Notre Dame is going to test you in ways that you wouldn't normally get tested in an opening week.
Yeah. Yeah. And from a coaching perspective, which I know is one that you come from, I mean, you can get that game in week 1 or week 2. So it sounds like you almost prefer it to come in week 1, because first of all, it's going to sharpen your off-season senses, I would assume. I would assume it enhances your sense of urgency in fall camp. I mean, it just seems in a lot of ways beneficial to have that game in week 1. I mean, what do you think? Is there anything to that over having it in week 2, whether it was flipped, McNeese week 1, Notre Dame week 2? I mean, what do you think?
Either way, it still kind of heightens it.
Yeah.
But definitely in this case, as you're going through, spring OT. I say OTAs, but they really don't have. They do have OTAs in college, but they don't.
Yeah.
But like, as you're going through like spring OTAs and then fall camp, your sense is definitely heightened because you know that okay, we can't BS through week 1. These guys are top 10, a top 10 program for a reason, and that deserves to be respected.
Yeah.
And from my perspective, we have to prepare to be the best in the world on our worst day, because they're gonna give us their best shot, even though we're not number 1, but in their head we're unranked A&M. We should, they're like, we should beat these guys. But for us, if you're A&M, you're going, okay, we've got something to prove.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something that it seems like Elko will be very good at instilling in this team. I think he has them ready for most games. I think he gets the best out of them on a given Saturday. Because, you feel like, I hate to bring this up every time I do, but the App State game, the first thing I thought after that game, or the beginning of that game, is we didn't seem ready to play a football game that day. And I don't feel like we'll see that under Elko. So far, at least it seems like that aspect is going to be cleaned up. Did I lose you? I might have lost Christopher. I'll give him a couple seconds to get back. Sounded like he was having some connectivity problems. But it's always good to hear from you, Christopher. If I lost you, I'm sorry. Try calling back in. And if not, I'll hear you talk to you in the next show. It's always good to hear from you, man. All right, I'm removing you from the stage. If you want to call back in a couple minutes. I'm going to end the show here in just a second. All right, let's see what you guys are saying, then I'm going to get out of here. Caden Sorrell, Ali, Jackson Schott, Teddy Fourbags, Burton. Any of these guys could be MVP at any time. I've seen it throughout the season. Absolutely. And the top of the lineup is so good, but I think what takes this team over the top is those guys. And great fielders, man. That play, that rally or relay, what game was it? Was it versus Louisiana Monroe? No, Louisiana Lafayette. It was the relay between Sorrell, Ali, and then getting the guy out at home plate. That was awesome. Big shout out to Coach Elko for being at the game supporting. I know, man. We're like in the intense game, and you just see Elko propped up in the corner, like out in left field. You love to see it, man. He's supporting. There's connection. There's connectivity throughout the sporting programs. And if you haven't seen or heard what the commentators from last week's game had to say about Bluebell and College Station, listen to it. Aggie Yell is just different. They left very impressed. Oh, Xavier Scruggs. Yeah, man. He had an awesome endorsement and spiel. What does the incoming baseball class look like? I do not know. Does anybody have an answer to that? I don't know. Man, losing Rakes and Jackson and Nolan stings. I'm sure we'll be fine. I think we will, man. I think we will, but I got to see that. That's one of those wait and see things. College football, it's a lot of proven commodities versus commodities you're hopeful for. And we have a lot of commodities we're hopeful for, but that can go one of two ways. So we'll have to see. But I think the coaching is going to be a lot better, so that just bodes so well for them. Too bad Diggs didn't stay. I know, man. I know. Wasn't an elite pass rusher, great motor guy. Yep. Jimbo was extremely stubborn in that App State game. Hopefully Elko will never be like that. We just felt such a dud out there, man. That App State game, it was just such like a sluggish game. I mean, you were playing a lot of freshmen on that defense too, on that 2022 class. If Jimbo pulls Haynes for Max, we probably win that game. Let's stop. Let's stop there, Jeb. Let's stop there. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Philip Mixon, good to see you. Montgomery has a cannon for an arm in right. Oh, my goodness. It's a thing of beauty to see his arm in right field. Yeah, that guy has a long, successful career ahead of him. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out with me. I'll see you guys for now Monday night for the NCAA Football Last Dynasty stream. If not, I will push it to Tuesday if A&M ends up playing Monday night. So for now, it's Monday, and I'll tweet it. I'll say something. It'll be Tuesday if A&M's playing Monday night. So Monday or Tuesday. Guys, thanks for watching. Thanks to the callers out there. Christopher, hope you call back next time. We lost you on the connection. I'll talk to you guys real soon. beat the hell out of Oregon and continue to beat the hell out of the offseason. Gig 'em. Later.